Hi, I'm Jennifer Janisch, owner of Adored Salon and Adored Signature Hand-Tied Hair Extensions. I'm obsessed with curly hair. I cut it, style it, and extend it, and this podcast is all about my curly girl obsessions that stretch far beyond just curly hair. Hey you! Thank you for coming on to the Curly Girls Obsessions podcast today. I'm Jennifer, the curly girl with a lot of obsessions. And Iles Formula is one of them, one of my big obsessions to say. This is Wendy Iles. She is the creator of Iles Formula, a luxury product line. And look at our gorgeous hair. Can we start with your hair, Wendy? Because
So I'm a curly girl too.
it looks
As
amazing.
thank you. Well, yeah, well, it's curls kind of like an animal. They have a mind of their own. And the task is knowing how to tame your curls and have them doing exactly what you ask of them. So, yes, we're curly girls. We've been curly all our life. I presume you were curly as a child too.
Oh my gosh. Yes,
Yeah.
and I hated it.
Yeah,
I
we
hated
all
it.
went through that.
Yeah, I hated it until I went to hair school and I started working with straight hair. And I was like, curls are pretty easy in comparison to straight hair. Like it just lasts
Yeah,
longer,
yeah,
and it just, I could focus more in on the client if I didn't have to worry much about my hair for I would do it, style it, and then it would be good. And so, yeah, but I definitely went through that stage where it was not my favorite.
yeah. I
And now,
remember growing up, it was all about, I started my training with Vidal Sassoon in London in the 70s. I was actually on the floor with him. So it was all about sharp, graphic haircuts. So
Mhm.
I was straightening my curls out to be on trend. But that many years I kept doing this beautiful brushing and I would just go for days with this brushing, hardly even brush my hair, certainly not. I'd comb it, just put a bit of serum on every day and go. And then during COVID, actually, it was a bit before COVID, because remember when I created Curl Revive, I started to really, I was sleeping and eating curl. For 3 years, it took me to sign that off. And then during COVID, I just thought, well, you know what? I'm just going to be natural. But it wasn't just me thinking that. So I was using my Curl Revive every day, loving it more and more and more. But I noticed when we came out of COVID, there were a lot more of the public that had embraced what they had naturally. So more and more people were accepting their natural curl. They were accepting to allow their gray to come through. After all, they probably had a 5-inch regrowth. So
Mhm.
it was a perfect head start to say, okay, I want to embrace my gray. Or if you're a blonde, so many blondes started to embrace their own natural browns as well through COVID.
Mhm.
So COVID was a really great thing for we curly girls, because we came out of hiding, I think.
Yeah, everyone who wasn't loving them until that point had no choice because all the blowout bars were closed. And
Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
they
Yeah.
just they couldn't get in. And then a little bit on that whole color thing though. I did not do well when they came back in.
Oh, didn't you?
I,
No,
they,
you missed your blonde.
oh, I still touched my hair up every 2 weeks. I
Oh, do
do,
you?
like, my hair is, I have a lot of gray that I
Mm.
have to touch up. And that helps me get that lived in look really easy, so that I was okay that the blonde was growing out. I just did not want to see the gray around my face. So
Yeah.
then when the clients came back and they were like, I want to embrace my gray. Why would you want to do that? Why? And
Well,
then they just kept saying it. And I'm like, I don't do that. terrible.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
I'm not doing that for you.
I mean, there is something very, I think, when you see gray hair on a young woman, I think it's absolutely beautiful. And I've never seen gray hair on a young woman where I haven't thought, wow, she looks amazing. But for sure, one has to be psychologically ready for
Ready.
that. Really,
And
really.
the process, like if you were a client getting a root, if you were getting your roots touched up all the time, the process to, the thought process, like that it's going to just, if we blend this, it's going to look natural. It's never going to look natural because the way
No.
permanent color looks, like it lightens before it deposits. So
Yeah.
it creates all that warmth in that line of demarcation. Like that was where I was like, there's no way that this is going to happen easy, right? Like it's easy.
I do think blondes get it easier than brunettes.
Yeah.
Because
Mhm.
blondes, the gray can the whites kind of just ease into
Blends.
the blondes and you don't get those radar marks like you do on a brunette. But I mean, I do believe the big wave of when it happened with COVID, they kind of got a head start. So it was just a question of a really good haircut and they
Right.
were going, it's
That's what
done.
I said. Like,
Mm.
let's not spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars trying to achieve the impossible here.
Yeah.
It's got to
Especially on
just it's just got to get cut off. So, okay, enough about gray hair. I
yes,
don't like
back
gray
to
hair
curls.
at all. I hate gray hair. So, let's talk about you, Wendy. Tell us where you came from, because with this podcast, it's not that I really want it to be about women empowering other women. I know we hear that statement so often, but as a stylist working behind the chair still, I see a ton of women come in. And so often I think I'm about to give a haircut, and it ends up being a business consulting session on how I started my businesses. And I just feel like there's so many voices out there that want to be heard and seen and just don't know how to do. And it's really just taking that leap. And so I want everybody to know where you started, because to become a celebrity stylist, it's not just like,
Well, if you could see where I grew up, I mean, my husband says many, many times, I mean, my husband grew up in Paris, but he says, how did you do that? How did you come from there to this? And he still says it till today. So I grew up in Tasmania, Australia. It is a tiny little heart-shaped island under Melbourne. It is the last landmass before the South Pole. Yes, they grow potatoes and opium poppies there. So I grew up on an opium poppy farm.
oh my gosh.
Yeah, I did. My father, he had the contracts for the opium poppies for the morphine for the hospitals. But so you can imagine 360 degrees on this beautiful farm on this island. That was my playground. And so therefore, even fast forward until today with my formulas, from the age of 8 or 9, I had this, I started to have this fascination of the power of plants and what they can do.
Well, being under those, I mean, one of the most powerful and so beautiful, like they're
the
gorgeous, right?
beautiful violet poppies, really beautiful. So fast forward to when I was thinking about formulating my own personal formulas, over the years, where people would watch Netflix, I Google ingredients. It's just something I've always done. I can remember myself as young as 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 on the computer, Googling plants medicinal, all the whole schmozzle on plants and their powers. So when I started to think about creating a conditioner that worked very differently to all other conditioners out there, and I can go into that in a bit, I knew exactly where I was going for my ingredients, and that was the Amazon in South America. So if you analyze some of those top ingredients in my formulas, they are also outstanding for skincare. But, you know, there's people out there that say, oh, hair care with skincare ingredients. Well, ours are really, really very complicated to get, but we insist to get them. They are harvested from the forest floor of the Amazon. We don't cut down trees to get those ingredients, and we certainly don't encourage deforestation. They are actually collected from the forest floor. So complicated because we depend on harvests, and every year a harvest will have a great harvest or maybe a poor harvest. So that ricochets why we as a brand have to be very, very particular about who we give our formulas to, because we can never give it to the world. So we basically handpick the people that do get the privilege to have Iles formula. We say no as often as we say yes. Going back to this conditioner, so it started like really seriously with the conditioner and the shampoo, because I needed a conditioner. I'm going off the subject now. You asked me where I was from, and now I'm telling you my life story.
This is
Tell me and ask me another question.
Hairstylist issue, right? We can tend to talk. We get ahead of ourselves because we get so excited. Not even like it's the passion behind the product, Wendy. So I totally get it, and that's how I feel also about Iles. I'll start talking about it in the salon, and I'm talking about how it's a porosity equalizer, because
Yes.
the number one question, right? Well, do I have to use the shampoo with the conditioner?
Yeah.
Because ultimately people in their brain think the conditioner is the most important part, and if they're going to splurge, it's going to be on the conditioner. And then I go into the whole story of the how and the why, and everybody's looking at me. It's like the Jeopardy. Have you ever seen that Jeopardy?
Right. Well, we now, we stop. There's such a pandemic with breakage happening, and a lot of that has got to do with bond buildings and peptides, because they've sprinkled it into home care. And the problem with that is that it goes into the center of the hair shaft. It goes into the cortex. It doesn't work on the cuticle, and that's how those build up. They're like a time bomb. They will eventually break hair, and it's obvious. It's everywhere. So the beauty about Iles formula is the shampoo starts the process from the very first use of softening up that brittle, overloaded hair. So we always say, bring all that mousse through to the ends and let it sit for a few minutes, because you imagine hair that's soft won't break. It's hair that's brittle that breaks. Now, that could be protein overload, it could be keratin overload, but more likely it is a bond building and a peptide overload. And so the shampoo starts the softening process. In some heads that's breaking really badly, I actually give them 3, sometimes 4 shampoos on the first treatment to really get that glassy, brittle hair softened up. And then you apply the conditioner, you wet brush it through, and the hair is soft like silk without one scrap of residue. Because when I developed that conditioner, I developed it because of the circumstances of where I was working, sometimes under hot lights up to 14 hours a day. So I could not have any grease. I could not have anything that coated the hair shaft at
And
all. So fast forward to today, we are the secret. We are the best. Well, we're not a secret because we just got awarded, actually, the Allure Best of Beauty, and the hair booster that grows hair just won the Oprah Award. So for the very first time, we are starting to get a very loud voice because of those amazing awards. So we stop breakage and we now grow hair with the booster, both award winning.
And yes, stopping breakage with a porosity equalizer and also strengthening.
Absolutely.
Correct?
Absolutely.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
And just explain, if you can, the porosity equalizer, because it's like,
yeah. So the porosity equalizer. So, probably the worst offender of a porosity bar. So you have a hair strand, and a porosity bar, if you look at it under a microscope, it's almost like a little hollowed away valley in that hair strand, which is like a cylinder. Balayage is one of the worst offenders because we can't control where we were last time because it's a freestyle method of coloring. So where it underlaps, you most likely will have a little indentation. This is what, and it's always with blondes, and this is why blondes rarely shine like a brunette or a redhead. It's because these little porosity bars are running through the hair. Now, extensions, just about all extensions are full of porosity bars because they come from a base of black, right? Usually, unless they're Russian extensions, which are almost next to they're impossible to get right now. So most of the
not a lot of thick-haired Russian people running around ready to donate their hair. That's the part that it's like, that's a whole nother topic, right? But let's go back to the porosity.
Yeah. It's a shame because that hair is probably closest to what we have.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so it's the Asian extensions, and they are really bleached up and then toned down to reach the color tones that we want, like a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on. Have you ever taken a swat of extensions and tried to lift it, or taken a lighter and tried to tone it down?
Yes.
It's a nightmare because you get these color bars everywhere. You can't get a perfect color tone. So that is porosity. So there is a root extract in the shampoo which creates the lather that replaces the sulfates. That root extract, that's why the mousse is so important with the shampoo, that you get it up. And you get it up by adding more water, never more product. Water and friction just explode that mousse. And you should bring it all the way through to the ends. It is that mousse that stops the breakage and buffs over porosity bars. I've had in my chair hair that was so bleached it was like jelly. And
we've all been there and seen this.
I said to the girl, let's put on Iles Formula shampoo here. And I said to her, close your eyes and feel that hair with the shampoo mousse on it. And she felt it. You can feel the hair expanding. It's amazing how it works. So it was filling out those valleys that jellified hair had. So that's the way it works. It's all about adding water to the shampoo.
And Wendy talks about the mousse, which
Mm.
is in America what we would call lather, right?
Oh,
Like
lather. Yeah,
the
sorry. I
lather.
always say, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I like the word mousse better. It sounds so pretty in
I think
comparison.
it comes because the French call it mousse, and it well, it kind of is mousse, it's mousse.
Yeah,
So, but yes,
exactly.
lather. Yeah, yeah. It replaces the sulfates that make the lather.
And
So it is certainly a very, very good ingredient, and that is the power of that shampoo. Blondes shine for the first time. So does white and gray hair.
yeah.
Really, and sometimes as hair becomes they lose their color pigment and it becomes white, it can often transform to become more coarse as well. And I read a lot of this in our interviews from women, senior women, that write out and say, oh my God, this is amazing how my hair feels like it did when I was a child. So it really softened up the coarse texture of their hair.
So with the extensions and having, my texture of hair, curly
Yeah.
hair, coarse hair, gray
Yeah.
hair, a root touch up, highlights, and then you've got a bunch of extensions in this hair. When I shampoo it with the Iles, that's literally that's the only shampoo that I use on it.
Yeah.
For the shampooing, I shampoo it at least twice. Sometimes I do 3 times because I don't wash my hair but every 7 to 9 days.
Yes. Yeah.
And then immediately with the Iles deep treatment every single time. And honestly, if I don't use the Iles deep treatment in my hair, I feel like I have no there is a guard in that deep treatment somehow against humidity.
Oh, you mean the mask or the
Yes,
conditioner? Oh, the mask. Use the mask. Use the mask every 10 days, do you?
every time. I mean, if you felt my hair, I don't remember if you felt my hair when you were
Yeah,
in
yeah, no, it's gorgeous.
it's,
Yeah.
but it looks a lot softer and silkier than it really is,
Mm.
and I think that that is due to that deep treatment. If I don't use it
Yeah.
every time, I'm in trouble because my gray hair is like just it's so kinky curly,
Yeah.
and then with my natural hair, but there's just something about that product that really guards against the humidity and then sealing the cuticles. So because I know it for myself, we send out when I will order a bunch of the packets, the
Oh, yes. Yeah.
shampoo, conditioner, and finishing serum. And when we send out our hair extension orders, we'll send it with them because I'm like, this is wash the hair with this, from the start, wash this hair before you color it, then wash it with the Iles, let it sit, then color it. You'll have better color penetration.
Oh, for sure. This is, yeah, I always say if you have a customer that or even if you have to color extensions, shampoo them in Iles Formula and condition them in Iles Formula, let it dry, and then start your coloration. But the same for absolutely for any customer that was wanting to have a real shock of a difference in color, like a massive lift or even a tone down, she should be using Iles Formula before she comes in for that treatment. So it can take care of the porosity for you when you start to do your color. Absolutely.
As a stylist, like on a natural head of hair, going
Mm.
darker, if you're using Iles, you're not going to get muddy ends, right?
No.
Because the ends are so much
Yep.
more porous if you explain to them how to do it properly. And with extensions, in the beginning, when I first started doing hand tied hair, it was like, oh, you know, this doesn't happen with our line because our hair is from India. It's not from China. So there's a lot less chemical processes on our hair than hair from China. But just getting that depth at the base. And because our hair, Indian hair, is so much more, it's healthier because there's less processes.
Very
It's
healthy
harder to
hair.
get that color in, but also making sure that that hair is conditioned, washing it first, making sure there's no tangles. Like, to me, it's like, how else do you prep anything but with Iles Formula shampoo and conditioner if you want the
Yes.
results?
I do agree with you. You know, my number one in the company who works really close to me, she's Japanese, and she swears by that mask. She says it has absolutely transformed her Japanese hair to spun silk. She sells that mask like crazy. Because for her, she can't live without it. She's a bit like you, actually, every 10 days. See, I don't use the mask so often. I probably use it once a month if I have a really special occasion.
But looking at your hair, I could see why. Like, it's perfect.
Yeah,
So,
no, it's in really good condition. You remember these formulas were my private formulas, so I've been using them for many more years than any of you guys. I
well,
mean, and they still take my breath away. They really are, absolutely.
and you don't have lightener on your hair. Like, lightener
No.
creates a whole different world of issues,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So, and
Yes.
your hair, it just, like I said, it's shining from the camera, and mine looks like it should be shining, but it's just not.
Oh, you're backlit. That's why, probably.
Right,
Have
yes.
light behind you.
Is there a
Yeah.
shine in there? I don't know, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah, there
you
is something about that mask.
Mm.
And I mean, again, just going back to when the client says to you, well, do I have to purchase this if yes, because everything works
Well,
synergistic together to me.
that is something there, what you were about to say, because people say, well, if I buy the mask, I don't need the conditioner. Yes, you do, because they do two different things. So the mask goes on after the shampoo. Remember, the shampoo softens the hair. So the hair is ready to drink. Perfect moment to put the mask on to allow it to penetrate into the hair shaft. Now, the Iles conditioner shuts the cuticle instantly on contact. That's why it works so fast. But it's also why I say, please use a wet brush or the comb that's in the box. I prefer a wet brush. I just didn't have space in that box for the comb, for a brush, or a large tooth comb, whatever. Comb it through, because if there's not, there's only so much that conditioner can do in instantly closing the cuticle. If you've got all the hairs in one direction, you'll get the perfect shutdown. Now, with curl, this is so important too, to get the great curl. But before I go on to that, remind me to come back to that, will you? On how to get curl. So what I want to say is that's why those people that say, oh, I don't want to use conditioner because it weighs my hair down, that will never happen with my formula, because there's no residue, there is no weight. What it does is shuts down the cuticle instantly on contact. It's like witch hazel closes open pores on skin. So there is no residue, there's no protein, there's no bond buildings, there's no peptides, there's no keratin, there's no lanolin, there's no silicone, there's none of that weight in that conditioner. That's why it is for all hair types.
And that's why it works so well on my hair with hair extensions and a root touch-up, gray hair, blonde hair.
All hair types, all ages, all hair types. But it is phenomenal. It is really one-off. There's no conditioner on planet Earth that works that way. Do you realize that, I think you might know that story, that it takes us 14.5 hours just to layer those ingredients.
I love, you have to tell this story. Because I love this story.
This is, I don't think there's a company on earth that is this hands-on. So that conditioner is my jewel. It really, really is. Well, we've got a second one now too, which is the booster, because we now grow hair drug-free.
Oh, yes. Okay. I'm like, wait, what?
But the conditioner, I knew it was complicated. I knew it was really complicated to make this. It's like really haute cuisine. So I have 36 key ingredients in that conditioner, and every ingredient has its place in the recipe, and every ingredient must be brought to a very precise signed off temperature. You can't go over it, you can't go under it. So what I'm saying, in fact, is you can get these amazing ingredients from the forest floor, but if you don't have science, they're not going to do what Iles Formula does. You need science to make that happen. So it is about a 14 and a half hour procedure. And then at the end of that procedure, some bottles are scooped up from the surface of the conditioner, and they are flown to me no matter where I am around in the world. I test it, I sign off on it, and then send that back to America, no matter where I am. I'm not always in America. Right now, for example, I'm in Paris. So time ticks. For us to find a manufacturer to do this conditioner was hell. Nobody wanted to touch it. Anyhow, because of the process, and then I sign off on it, and I know that this is important. One day, it was in May 2018, I received one of those bottles, and it smelt like my conditioner. It looked like my conditioner, but it definitely did not work like my conditioner. And we found out that the foreman decided to cut my recipe down to 9 hours. Of course, he killed it. So quality control is everything. And I am so on this. People are just like, wow, how do you do that? It's a lot of work. Sometimes I'm in Australia. Sometimes I'm in Scandinavia. They have to send it to me no matter where I am before I sign off. So every bottle of conditioner that anybody ever uses from Iles Formula, I have signed off on before you get it.
Well,
I would say one thing, though. We work with raw virgin ingredients. So if you've ever cooked homemade jam one year, let's say take raspberry jam, and the next year you make the same raspberry jam, there may be a little difference in color because of the harvest. It depends on how much sun it gets. So sometimes it might be a little more golden, sometimes it might be a little creamier. And also the viscosity, there is a viscosity scale that we have to work within. So sometimes it might be a little this end, or it might be a little bit that end. It's almost impossible to get it down the middle unless it's some kind of artificial ingredient, which it's not. But there is a scale, let's say 1 to 8. And so long as it's in that, it's signed off. But
how did you know that it was wrong?
Oh, it didn't have any performance. You know, Iles Formula, remember when you used Iles Formula conditioner for the first time? You were wowed. I'm sure you were like, wow, that is amazing. That's how we open doors. You just got to get them to test it.
Yeah, I just couldn't believe.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels like silk.
Yeah, it feels like silk immediately without weight.
And when you're working with curly hair and products, right? It's very, it's not often that it will feel like that. And the main thing, this is why your conditioner to me is front and center. I don't mess around. There's like my product recipe in life, right? Like how I wash my hair, how I condition my hair, how I finish the conditioning, how I detangle when I put in the curl revive, and then how I move on to, because we know my hair is really intensely. Then the styling, right? And where curl revive comes in there. And but curly hair always has a raised cuticle. It's just the natural makeup of curly.
It does, but you use Iles.
And it fixes it.
Really shuts down that cuticle. But of course it doesn't disturb the curl, because the curl is within the cortex.
Yes. And it just, that's
Yeah,
where it becomes life-changing if you're a curly girl. And then
absolutely.
add in hair extensions that have been blasted out from, the lightning process and everything. And that is how, in my hair, which is coarser and drier than the extensions, it all just it makes it all flow into one, right? It takes care of every and anything that I would have an issue with, and it seals the deal. It seals it.
When I do my curls, I do the shampoo. I do 2 shampoos, rinse it away. And then I do the conditioner and I wet brush it through. And that is the last time I put a brush or a comb into my hair for curl. But do you use the turban?
So with it, if I didn't have an extensions, I could, but because of the extensions and the different textures and all the scenarios that go on with the extensions being sewn in beads, I have to work with my hair being really wet to detangle it first. Because, right,
Right. Okay, I get you. Oh, well, for me, it kind of rings out. I actually made these because of
I
curl
love
revive.
them.
Because I'm thinking, okay, I've been hairdressing 40 plus years. I know hair, but Mrs. Smith on the customer, the B2C customer, I want her to get the best curl possible. So what tool could I give her when she buys her Curl Revive? So that's when I came up with this extra big in the bonnet and extra long to accommodate extensions to the waist in America. But then, the client with no hair, very short curls, she just does more twists, Anyway, it's a button loop system, doesn't
It's
fall
so
off.
pretty. That thing is so awesome. I would love to have them for the whole salon.
Yes, we had a salon actually in New York. I mean, they lost their salon, was a very good salon during COVID. But they used them in the salon. You have to put them on back to front of the salon because the button, you can't ask your client to turn a head upside down with wet hair. Anyhow, so the button's always in the front. They're not as glamorous as what they are when you throw your head upside down, because then you get that Elizabeth Taylor gorgeous turban that just
Turban look. They're so soft, and clients who buy them love them.
Yeah. I mean, I use it every day just to take my makeup off and clean my skin, actually.
I bought them.
Every day I use this.
Me and my daughters have them for that reason too.
Yeah.
Like, put your hair up, don't let it get disrupted,
Yeah.
wash your face, wash your skin.
Anyhow, so then I squeeze the water out with the turban, leave it on for about 3 or 4 minutes, and then I take it off, shake my hair, spray Curl Revive, and really I don't touch it again until it's dry. I don't even use a diffuser. Sometimes I put a little clip here and a little clip here just to kind of anchor it out of my face, but that's it.
That's called dream hair, Wendy. I don't know.
No, sometimes, if I sometimes I'll get a lazy bit and then I just kind of have to pick it up. I spray it again with Curl Revive and I do that. I twist it around my finger and hold it and then drop it. And then the form will stay. But it's not actually dream hair. Curly hair it needs attention.
But yours styles really well. Like, really.
Yeah, it's because I work at it too, but it's fairly easy.
Beautiful. It's beautiful. We have to talk about this, how you said that you guys really struggled finding a manufacturer who would create your product. And the fact that, I mean, I'm sure that we could count on one hand who has their own manufacturer company factory, right? Like that just doesn't exist. Like there's like 3 major holders of all the products in the whole wide world except for Iles. And
so when we were looking, I never realized this, ever did I realize this, that we're American made and we produce in California. So we saw so many manufacturing houses, and they just did not want to know our ingredients, let alone our formulas, because too complicated. It's different. It's not what we're used to. So all those, this is the conclusion we came to, and it was verified. All those manufacturers around California, California is Hair Valley. A lot of them, that's another thing. We had to buy all our own ingredients and house them. So we have over millions of dollars worth of ingredients because they didn't want to do that. That was the other thing we had to do. So, which I don't mind. I quite love that because we're in control of our ingredients.
Yeah.
And right on top of it, I prefer to know that the ingredients are in-house and not relying on some foreman that forgot to order new ones. Anyhow, so a lot of those manufacturing houses have the same ingredients. They just use different ways in all those other brands, shampoos and conditioners. It's basically the same stuff. If you read the back of the bottles, it's basically the same stuff, but just different dosages. You know, there might be some elements of something different within, but it's basically the same stuff. The warehouses have all the same ingredients for shampoo and conditioner.
It's just mind-blowing to me.
It was to me at the time, but the more I get into this, the more I realize, well, yeah, it kind of makes sense. Remember, I made these formulas as private formulas. I made them carte blanche, especially for performance. I didn't
Yeah.
make them for the world. I made them for me and my
So,
celebrity and royal customers. So I made them purely for the high performance that they delivered. It
and
was not
and
like
in order to
yeah.
reproduce that, you had to purchase the right?
Well,
Like you
yeah. It
own,
was much bigger than we ever anticipated, really.
right, it's
Because
always the
they
way.
were private formulas. And then about 25 of my celebrities out of America came along and said, okay, if we give you 12-month orders each, would you make your private formulas for us? And I kind of resisted a bit because I was thinking, oh, really? You really want me to do that? Anyhow, that's how the signature, I've got the signature here. That's how that box got born.
Mm-hmm.
And I put those 3 private formulas inside, the 1, the 2, and the 3. That's how it got
Because it
born.
looks so gorgeous
And
like
then
that.
that was on that they got this, but without all the stuff on the back. It just had a 1, 2, and a 3 on it. And in that box, that's the exact box, but of course without all the barcodes, etc. And then Bergdorf Goodman had heard about it because I live in Paris, right? A lot of my customers fly me in to do their skincare campaigns, their hair care campaigns, their lingerie campaigns, their perfume campaigns. But, you know, and then I fly back to Paris so that they have their salons that they go to for their colors and their cuts, you know. So, you know, they're out and about and they would take along their Iles formula. Anyway, Bergdorf Goodman heard about it and they reached out about 3 months after these celebrities got those boxes. And at that point, I knew that we were about to become a brand.
That it was going to get really big.
Thank you for listening to part 1 of Jennifer and Wendy Iles. Come back next week to hear the rest in part 2.